My name is Tariq Al-Mansour, and my life, as I knew it, ended in 2027. One quiet evening in my apartment in the heart of Dubai, I collapsed. The world went dark, and for what felt like an eternity, I was gone. I was no longer in my body, but I wasn't dead either. I was caught in a space between life and death, where everything I believed was shattered. I was shown a truth so profound that it shook me to my core. What I saw, what I felt, is not something I can keep to myself. It's a truth the world must hear. The things I learned in those moments have transformed me forever, and I now know that the path ahead is not what I thought it would be. This secret, it must be shared. I was born and raised in the heart of Dubai, a city known for its grandeur, fast pace, and limitless ambition. My father, Rashid, was a well-established businessman who had earned respect across the city for his sharp mind and business acumen. My mother, Layla, was known for her elegance and the grand events she hosted for the city's elite. Our family was the epitome of success, and I was expected to follow in my father's footsteps, carrying the family name with pride. From an early age, I was immersed in the world of Islam, taught the importance of obedience to Allah and the significance of following the rules set by our faith. My days were structured around attending the mosque, memorizing verses from the Quran, and fulfilling my duties as a son of an influential man. Life seemed simple. Do your best, obey your parents, and you will prosper. As I grew older, my path seemed already paved. I studied finance at the top universities, eventually securing a prestigious position at a global bank in downtown Dubai. From the outside, everything looked perfect. I had a successful career, a beautiful apartment, and all the material possessions anyone could desire. But inside, something was off. Despite the outward success, I felt an increasing emptiness, a sense that all of this wasn't enough. The more I climbed the corporate ladder, the more I felt disconnected from something deeper, something meaningful. My career, my wealth, my achievements. None of them brought me peace. I began to question everything I had been taught. I was caught in a world of endless materialism, where people valued status more than sincerity. I realized that all the success I had achieved couldn't fill the void inside me. It was as if I was following a script, playing a role, but it wasn't the one I was meant to play. I became disillusioned with the world around me. The dreams I had been sold, the idea that success would lead to happiness, felt increasingly hollow. I felt trapped in a life that looked perfect from the outside but lacked depth. Something was missing, something I couldn't name, and it gnawed at me every day. I had everything, yet I had nothing, and that feeling lingered in my heart, making me question what the true purpose of my life really was. It was a Wednesday evening in September when it all happened. I was at my office in Burj Khalifa, the towering symbol of Dubai's success. The lights were dim as I reviewed financial reports, the numbers blurring in front of me as the hours passed. The clock struck midnight, and that's when I felt it. A sudden, sharp pain in my chest. It was unlike anything I had ever experienced, and before I could react, I felt a cold wave wash over me. I staggered to the side of my desk, trying to catch my breath, but the pain intensified. My vision blurred, and my heart seemed to seize, as if it had stopped beating. My body collapsed onto the floor, and everything around me fell into darkness. I was no longer aware of my physical body. I wasn't dead, but I wasn't alive either. I found myself suspended in a space, no longer bound to the confines of my office or the skyscraper. It was as if I was floating above my own body, watching from a distance. I could see my colleagues frantically rushing to my side, their faces filled with panic as they tried to revive me. But I wasn't a part of that world anymore. I was somewhere else, somewhere beyond everything I knew. In this place, there was no pain, no fear, just an overwhelming sense of peace. It was as if I was enveloped by a warm, comforting light. I didn't feel alone. There was something or someone with me, but I couldn't yet make out the figure. As I drifted, I felt lighter, unburdened, as if everything in my life, the stress, the material worries, the emptiness, had disappeared. In the distance, a figure appeared. It wasn't clear at first, but as it drew closer, I felt an overwhelming sense of recognition. I knew who it was, even before I saw the face. There was something familiar about him, something that transcended language, belief, or logic. He stood apart from everything I knew, and yet, he felt like the most natural presence I had ever encountered. It wasn't fear that I felt. It was a sense of quiet awe, an understanding that I was in the presence of something divine. I had no idea how long I had been there, floating in this space between life and death. But one thing was certain. I was being shown something far greater than I could have ever imagined. What was happening to me wasn't just a moment of dying. It was the beginning of a revelation, one that would change everything I believed about the world, about life, and about the purpose of my existence. As I drifted closer to the figure, there was an undeniable pull, a force that drew me in, making every fiber of my being long to get closer. I could feel his presence even before I could fully see him. The air around him seemed to shimmer, charged with an energy that felt both calming and awe-inspiring. His eyes, when I finally gazed into them, were unlike anything I had ever seen. They radiated warmth and compassion, as if they could see straight into my soul. I felt exposed, yet strangely safe. He stood with such quiet authority, yet there was no harshness in his demeanor. His presence overwhelmed me in the best possible way. I had never experienced anything like it before. His eyes met mine, and it was as if he knew me in a way that no one else ever could. Without a single word, he conveyed understanding, kindness, and a deep, immeasurable love. Then he spoke, and his voice was the most comforting sound I had ever heard. It was both gentle and strong, as though it carried the weight of an eternity of wisdom and love. "Tariq," he said, calling my name with such clarity, "I have seen your struggles. I have heard your prayers, even the ones you did not speak aloud." His words seemed to wrap around my heart, soothing the pain and emptiness I had carried for so long. They echoed deep inside me, filling the void I had spent my life trying to fill with fleeting pursuits. I stood there, utterly speechless, my mind struggling to comprehend the magnitude of what was happening. How could this being, this presence, know me so completely? And yet, in that moment, I realized that I had never felt more truly seen. For the first time in my life, I felt understood, loved, and accepted in a way that went far beyond anything I had ever experienced in the physical world. His voice continued, soft and steady, but each word carried the weight of truth. "Tariq, your life has been built on a false foundation. You have sought meaning in wealth, status, and success, but none of these things will give you the fulfillment your soul is yearning for." As he spoke, I felt a deep sense of shame and clarity. I had spent my life chasing things that I thought would bring me happiness, but all of them had only brought me emptiness. He didn't condemn me. Instead, he showed me the path to healing. "What you are searching for, Tariq, is not in the world you know. It is found in me. It is found in love, truth, and faith." As he spoke those words, a wave of peace washed over me. A peace so profound that it felt like every burden I had carried, every worry, every doubt was lifted from me. I had spent my life searching for something that could never be found in the material world. But now, for the first time, I understood. The peace I sought could only be found in him. The world I had known, with its illusions and distractions, seemed so distant now. It was as if I had been granted sight to see the truth beyond the surface, to see beyond the fleeting ambitions that had once consumed me. I was no longer trapped in the lies of success and status. I was free, finally free, to live for something far greater than myself. The truth he spoke resonated deep within me, and for the first time, I knew what it meant to truly be alive. As I stood there, enveloped in the presence of this being, he spoke not of what would simply come to pass, but of the choices each of us must make. I could feel the weight of his words settling in my chest. He was showing me the future, not as a set of predetermined events, but as a crossroads, a place where every individual had the power to choose their path. Light or darkness, love or hate. It was as if the future hinged on the decisions of each heart. He pointed towards the city of Dubai, the city where I had spent my life striving for success and validation. A place of towering skyscrapers, glittering lights, and the constant pursuit of more. He showed me the city, but it was not the way I knew it. The buildings were crumbling, the streets deserted, the air heavy with anger. People walked past each other, eyes downcast, filled with suspicion and resentment. I saw the divisions grow, not just between individuals, but between entire communities, entire nations. The greed that once fueled the city now consumed it. The more people hoarded, the emptier they became. No one knew who the real enemy was, but it was clear. The enemy was not on the outside. It was the darkness within their own hearts. The scene shifted, and I was shown something different, something beautiful, something that filled me with hope. I saw people, not divided by wealth or status, but united in love and compassion. Their hearts were open, their hands extended to one another, regardless of differences. I saw strangers helping one another, not out of obligation, but out of genuine care. I saw families, once torn apart by conflict and misunderstanding, coming together in peace. I saw forgiveness replacing bitterness, understanding replacing judgment. In this vision, there was no division, no hatred, just a shared desire for peace and healing. "The choice, Tariq, is yours," he said, his voice calm yet powerful. "Will you follow the path of destruction, or will you choose the way of love?" In that moment, I understood. The path of destruction was easy. It was the path of division, greed, and fear. But the path of love was the one that required courage. The courage to forgive, to show compassion, and to choose unity over conflict. I realized then that true freedom was not found in the pursuit of wealth or status. Those things had always seemed like the ultimate goal, the markers of success. But now I understood that they were nothing but illusions. True freedom, true peace, was found in love. In the kind of love that Jesus taught. The love that forgives the unforgivable. The love that seeks peace instead of power. The love that binds people together, no matter their differences. My mission was now clear. I had been shown the way, and it was not the path I had been following. It was a path of love, compassion, and truth. I had seen what was possible if people chose this way, and I knew I had a part to play in bringing this truth to the world. I was called to live with purpose, to share this revelation, to lead others to the light, and to show them that the way to freedom was not in the world they knew, but in the love that Jesus embodied. As his presence faded and the vision began to blur, I felt a deep sense of peace and a burning desire to follow this path, no matter the cost. The choice had been made. I would follow the way of love, and I would bring others along with me. When I returned to my body, Everything felt different. The hum of the fluorescent lights, the sound of my computer screen buzzing, and the smell of the sterile office. It all seemed so insignificant now. I opened my eyes and blinked, adjusting to the dim light. But I wasn't the same person who had collapsed just moments ago. The man who had walked into that office earlier had been consumed by ambition, by the need to prove himself. The man who now lay on the cold floor was someone else entirely. I felt it immediately, a deep shift within me. The fire that had once burned for personal gain was now ignited for something greater. I could feel the weight of the choices ahead of me. The truth that had been revealed to me in that moment. The truth about love, peace, and purpose was now etched into my soul. I was no longer driven by the need to climb higher or win at any cost. I was driven by a desire to live for others, to make a difference, to use this second chance at life for something that mattered. I stood up, my legs shaky, but my resolve steady. I wasn't sure what came next, but I knew that I had been given a gift. The gift of a new perspective, of awakening. I walked out of my office with a new sense of direction. The city of Dubai, which had always seemed like a place to conquer, now looked different to me. The skyscrapers towered above me, but they no longer represented success. They represented something else. A reminder that the real victory wasn't in achieving more, but in living with purpose and love. I began to pray, not out of obligation or duty, but because my heart yearned for it. For the first time, I wasn't praying for success or for personal gain. I prayed for guidance, for the strength to live this new life, for the courage to walk away from the path that had led me to emptiness. I prayed for peace, not just for myself, but for those around me. I prayed for the people who had once seemed like obstacles to my success, now seeing them for what they truly were. Souls, each with their own struggles, their own hopes and fears. As I prayed, I began to see the world differently. I noticed the people around me, the ones I had once passed by without a second thought. The man on the street corner asking for change. The woman at the coffee shop who looked tired and sad. The colleague who had always seemed to be in a rush, never stopping to chat. Each of them was a soul, just like me, searching for something. And I knew that my purpose was not just to live for myself, but to help others find the love and peace that had been given to me. Every conversation became an opportunity to show kindness, every interaction a chance to be a source of encouragement. I began to make small changes, listening more, offering help without expecting anything in return, being present in the moments that once seemed trivial. I realized that living with love meant living with intention, being mindful of how I treated others, and seeing the value in every human being. The transformation wasn't instantaneous, but it was profound. Each day I felt more connected to those around me, and each day I grew more rooted in my purpose. The fire within me burned brighter, not for personal glory, but for the glory of something greater than myself. I no longer feared the future. I no longer feared failure. What had once seemed like a life of endless pursuit was now a life of fulfillment, a life of love, service, and meaning. I knew this journey had just begun. The path ahead wasn't clear, but I had faith that as long as I continued walking in love, I would never be lost. And for the first time in my life, I was ready to walk it. I knew that my journey was just beginning. The events that had unfolded, the life-altering revelations, and the profound shift in my spirit were only the beginning of a new chapter in my life. The pain, the struggles, the doubts, they were no longer weights that held me back, but part of the story that had shaped me. They no longer defined who I was or where I was headed. I had found peace, a peace that came not from the world, but from something greater. and I had found a purpose that I could no longer ignore. I understood now that my mission wasn't simply about surviving or achieving. It was about living in a way that reflected the love I had experienced. It was about showing others that there was a way out of the emptiness, a way to find true fulfillment beyond wealth, success, or status. The love I had encountered was not something to be kept to myself. It was meant to be shared, not just in words, but in the way I lived my life. I wanted my actions to reflect the change within me, to be a living testament to the power of love, grace, and faith. I didn't know what the future held, and for the first time, I wasn't afraid of it. The unknown no longer felt like a threat, but a canvas, a chance to live fully, to serve others, and to make a difference in ways that mattered. I didn't need to know all the answers. I just needed to keep walking in faith, in love, and in trust. I had learned that the journey wasn't about being perfect. It was about being faithful, about seeking truth and living with intention. And with that knowledge, I knew I would never be alone. I had seen the light, not a fleeting, dim light, but a light that radiated through the darkness, bright and unwavering. It was a light that offered hope, that called me forward, and that reminded me every day of the love I had been shown. It was a light brighter than anything the world could offer, and it was a light that would guide me no matter where I went. So I walked forward, not knowing where the path would take me, but with a certainty that I was walking in the right direction. I wasn't just living for myself anymore. I was living for others, for those who still needed to see that light. And with each step, I knew I was part of something far bigger than myself. Something that would change the world, one person at a time.